So this is where a little bit of my brain chemistry comes in. I guess I should have shown you my brain. So we'll talk just about the brain for a minute. So brains are very complex things, and they're filled with these different neurotransmitter systems. And if you have any people in your life who are alcoholics or drug addicts, they're all suffering from similar dysfunctions in different places in their brain. Sugar addiction really lives on your second dopamine receptor, if you ever want to know its address. And again, once you know that it's really an addiction, if you're one of those people, then you're going to know what to do about it. So that leads us to the sugar story. So when you think of sugar, you know, the white stuff that you sprinkle on different things, the chemistry lesson is that really sugar has two components. So it's a molecule of glucose, and I use a green ball because glucose is basically the good part of sugar. You need a certain amount of glucose. It feeds your brain. It's the blood sugar that gives you energy. So glucose in and of itself is not so horrible. The horrible part is the fructose. It's my mean ball, and I think of it as the F word. So fructose is really, like when we were all back in the caveman day, fructose is what you got from fruit. That's where it comes from, fruit sugar. So you would, at the harvest toward the end of the summer, people would eat their fruit, and it would be stored as fat, and it would carry them through the winter. But the problem now, there are two problems. One of them is we have fruit available all year round. We walk into Whole Foods 365 days a year, and you can have anything that you want because it's being shipped in and flown in and grown artificially in greenhouses. So there's too much fruit in the system. But the biggest problem is the manufactured fructose. So back in the 60s, they discovered that, hey, if you take corn and you do all this crazy stuff to it, what comes out the other end is high fructose corn syrup. So high fructose corn syrup is a really interesting substance in that when you've got like table sugar, these two molecules are bound together. There's always one of these and one of these. In high fructose corn syrup, it's more like a ball pit. There are some of these and there are some of these. And manufacturers can tinker with the formulation. So instead of 50-50, you can have 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. Some sodas are as high as 95% fructose. And the food manufacturers are doing that because they have paid billions of dollars to universities and researchers to find the bliss point, the point of no return, the point where we keep buying their products. And high fructose corn syrup is a fraction of the cost of sugar because in the United States, we're subsidizing farmers to grow corn, and at the same time, we've put tariffs on imported sugar to keep the prices high. So sugar is expensive, high fructose corn syrup is cheap. And the other thing that they found along the way is that high fructose corn syrup is also a stabilizer. So if you look at a loaf of bread, for example, which you go, that's not really sweet, is it? They put high fructose corn syrup in it to make it last longer. So fructose. When we were consuming it as we should, it all just worked out because fruit, when it's fresh and in its natural form, it's got fiber, it's got water, it's got nutrients, it's really a wonderful thing. When you turn it into this manufactured thing, it's a whole different story. So when I ingest fructose, it goes straight to my taste bud. It's like at least 8 times sweeter than the glucose. So when you think of sugar, you're really thinking of the fructose. So it lands in your taste bud and it goes straight to your brain. Very little short space there. So like immediately your brain goes, "Whoa, that was good. I like that. Give me some more. I remember how good that was yesterday. Can I have some today?" And you get into this rut where you're just seeking that high that you got from the sugar. It's just like drugs, it's just like alcohol. So you've got this high going on. The other thing that you have is that your body just goes, what the fuck is this? It's like, I don't know where this came from. There's this molecule in my body and I don't know what to do with it. Like what should I do with this? So it goes straight to your liver. It has nothing to do with your blood sugar and your energy. It has nothing to do with that. So it goes straight to your liver, and your liver says, well, what the fuck do I do with this? It's like, I can have a little bit of this because I like to store a little bit of fat because I might need it in the future. But like, you're sending me truckloads full. What do I do with these truckloads? Part of it gets stored in your liver, and you get what they call fatty liver disease. That's cirrhosis of the liver without the buzz. The other thing that happens is you get the belly fat. You know, what it can't put in the liver, it puts around your organs to protect them, and now you've got belly fat. So it's just a horrible thing, and too many people don't know this, and that's why you're my captive audience today, so I get to give you my chemistry lesson. Because if you understand that, there are all kinds of foods that you can eat. You just have to leave out the ones that have fructose in them. And you have to be careful, because a lot of well-meaning people will say, oh, well, if you can't have sugar in your tea, how about a little honey? Honey's about 60% fructose. In the winter, I really like maple syrup. I'm going to get that first run, grade B, whatever it is. No, 60 to 65% fructose. I hear about that agave nectar. That comes, out of a cactus plant. That's really good for you. 95% fructose. So you have to find out what are the things that don't have fructose in them. So for me, as I almost had to reverse engineer the process. So after I figured out what worked for me, I went back through and I said, okay, if I wanted to help somebody else do what I did, because it's kind of a story that people relate to, how would I tell them how to do that? So I have a 6-step process that I'm going to walk you through quickly. And the interesting thing is that I liken it to tying your shoes. Because if you're a sugar addict, you have to approach both the brain chemistry and your behavior. Because like any addiction, part of it you have no control over. When I was in the middle of it and I couldn't figure out what was going on, there were no choices to make. There were no decisions to make. My brain was making them all. Drug addicts, Prince, died a few days, drug addicts. You don't have the time to make a decision. So you have to deal first with the brain chemistry, and then you're going to have to deal with behaviors. I don't like going into a mall where there are a lot of, even Auntie Anne's pretzels have a lot of sugar in them. If I smell an Auntie Anne's pretzel, my brain starts going like this and I'm in trouble. So you have to deal with the brain chemistry and your behavior. So that's why I have 6 steps. And what you do is you try to do one piece over here on the brain chemistry side, and then you switch and you focus on a behavior. And when you've got that nailed, you go back over to another brain piece and then to a behavior piece. And when you've got that nailed, you go back over and do a brain piece and a behavior piece. When you're done, it's like tying your shoes. People say, I fell off the train this weekend, how can I get back on? There's no train to fall off of, because if you follow these steps that are going back and forth like your shoelaces, you can tie it a little tighter sometimes in your life. When you got like I'm going to be really stressed, so I'm just going to be really careful, and I'm just going to be so careful. And there are other times that you can say, all right, I'm in a pretty good space right now, I'm kind of relaxed. You can be a little bit looser. You can't ever go outside the norm of what you can have, but you could eat more. Like, for example, if I get stressed, I can have a little more fruit than I normally would have. I can't have a cupcake. It's been 10 years, and I can't have a cupcake. It's not happening.